Hi everyone, welcome back to the Global AI Community on Virtual Tour. We are well into our 30 hours of sessions with our 32 speakers. And in this session, myself and Eve as hosts are going to be hosting Daron. Daron is going to talk to us a little bit about, I've kind of read it as if you're a little bit worried about the whole statistical side of machine learning, Darren's going to show us some amazing technologies that are going to allow everyone to just get involved with this kind of tech and also build some really cool stuff. Daron is a regional director, a Microsoft regional director, and an Azure Most Valuable Professional. He speaks at loads of conferences, so I'm sure he'll do an amazing job on our stream today. And he's quite the expert, not just in AI, but also microservices, serverless, and IoT. So hi, Daron, how are you doing?
Hey, doing good. As good as it gets nowadays in house, right?
Indeed, we're all connecting from all over the world, aren't we? And not in person at the moment. So whereabouts are you at the moment?
I am right now in Istanbul, Turkey, stuck in the house like everyone else. I guess we're just lucky being able to work from home at this point.
Yeah, agree, and still being able to connect over the internet. And what time is it there? We've been doing this as a sort of running
Oh yeah,
conversation.
right now it's 11 a.m. here.
It's 11 a.m. Okay, I'm in the UK and it's 9, so it's still a little earlier for me, but we're getting into a nice sort of daylight now, which is cool. But we won't carry on anymore. You've got some amazing content for us, so take it away.
Okay, thank you. So, yeah, the title for this session is obviously, what you see on the screen right now, implementing AI into your apps without learning AI. One thing that you're not going to get out of this session is learning AI and how can we implement, AI functionality into our apps without really learning AI? That's the kind of the topic of this session. And why would we want to do that? Because nowadays it looks like, everyone wants to be, a machine learning expert, an AI expert. That is kind of the trend. Like if you go into LinkedIn, I'm sure you're seeing a lot of, people sharing like I did this with machine learning, I did that with AI expertise, and this is kind of getting to a point. It's nice to sometimes step back and start asking some questions, because what does it mean to learn AI? I mean, I'm getting this question a lot, like from students or from peers, like I want to learn AI. So what does that mean really? Because I'm sure if you go and talk to someone who worked in the academy for like the last 20 years about AI, and you ask them, hey, I want to learn AI, their answer will be really very different, because this is a really very wide topic. You might have seen, maybe there are actually presentations in this, global event as well. There are some presentations that starts from a huge slide where it shows, it starts from AI and goes into deep learning, neural networks and stuff, and then you end up seeing a huge tree of structures and branches of AI that you can get into. So the point is, this thing is big. That's the point. And it's sometimes really very hard to figure out where to start, and stepping back and answering the question of what does it mean to learn AI for myself? What do I want to accomplish? What is the purpose in learning AI for me? Because am I learning just for the sake of the learning, and is that really what I want? Where I'm going to start with this thing. What drives me learning AI? Is there something else that I can do that has a better return on investment? I know it sounds like a little bit of a businessy right now, but that's important. I mean, we're going to spend our time, invest our time into learning something, and we kind of obviously try to pick the best. The best one that we can learn that is going to return us something in the short term or the long term. And the idea is, think about these questions, because this isn't something that we individually have to think about. This is something companies, organizations have to think about as well, because when you look from an organization's perspective, it's a much important question, because they're not just investing a person's time. They're investing, building up teams. They have to build up teams to be able to do some things with the AI, right? And building up a team costs much more money. It's a long-term investment, and not every organization is going to be able to do that. right? So they have to think about these questions as well. What drives this initiative? Why do we want to do? I mean, is it because, there's this idiom I usually use, like, I mean, are you going to get a MacBook Pro because it just looks sexy in a third wave coffee shop? Most probably not. At least I'm hoping not. So is that kind of the same feeling you're having about AI? Because that's the pressure we all get from, I guess, social networks, right? We see something trendy, we feel like we are left behind, and we just want to learn something because we want to be on the top, on the front of the line, right? And that's a reaction. Let's pull the reaction out. Let's not make a reaction, but an educated, decision. That's kind of the point of this slide. And what I'm going to do now is to give you a different perspective from what's going on. And I have a couple of slides from, actually one slide from Google, one slide from AWS, and one slide from Microsoft. And the point is to show you what these three big companies are doing and why they are doing it. So short wins sometimes can bring really very high value, right? A couple of years ago, this might still be going, but I had this discussion. I'm not going to call out names, but I had this discussion with one of these big threes, and they came in and they were trying to sell AI services to the company that I was consulting with. And here's what they did. First off, they started with the low-level machine learning things, and then the organization said, hey, unfortunately, we don't have the experts in the organization, so we're not going to be able to really use these things. We don't have the expertise, and we're not sure if we're going to need to build all that expertise just to accomplish a couple of things that we want to do with AI. We are just not sure. And then this big guy, this big organization, one of the big trees, they came in and say, okay, here's a couple of options for you. We can build the AI thing for you, and you simply promise us that you're going to run it in our cloud. Okay. So we can build this AI tool for you. You can keep the intellectual property if you run it on our cloud. Or here's another option. We can educate your team and build the AI tool for you again. But in this case, you give us permission to host it as a service in our marketplace so that we can monetize whatever we're going to build for you by providing the same service to other customers as well. So it's like, it's like you're trying to sell a car that the consumer isn't going to be able to use, but you're kind of trying to give them some kind of another option, like, hey, I want to sell you this car, and I understand you're not going to be able to use it. Let me give you a driver so that you can travel around with this car. And that kind of feels like, it's not a good fit for that particular customer, right? You're kind of trying to sell something to the customer that isn't a good fit, and you are trying to find a workaround. And that's fine, because, we need this thing. But as I've said, this discussion happened like 2 years ago. And this whole thing is a problem. This proves that the product that you are selling, the service that you are trying to sell, isn't a good fit for that particular customer. And what do you do in that case? You build something new. And today another example is, we always talk about low-level programming languages, high-level programming languages. There's always debates about what programming language is the best for whatever thing that we want to solve, the problem that we want to solve. But I guess everyone would agree that if you want to build a website, no one will start with C, right? And there's a reason, right, for it. So, or if you want to build, I don't know, a real-time kernel tool or whatever, you're not going to start with most probably Python, right? So there are high-level languages and low-level languages for a reason. And the same thing applies to AI as well. There are high-level services for AI and low-level services for AI that you can use, and there needs to be. Sometimes these vendors, and by vendor I call Google, Microsoft, and AWS, those are, from our perspective, those are vendors. So sometimes a vendor picks a low-level service to start from, right? Another vendor starts from a high-level service, right? Back, maybe 10 years ago, I don't remember the exact dates, but Azure started from platform as a service, AWS started from infrastructure as a service, and then they started to go into other spaces and kind of fill the full stack. But that's a preference. And in this case, when you look at all these vendors, here is Google on your screen right now, who has a couple of services. This might look like they have only 4 services, right? Cloud speech to text, cloud text to speech, vision AI, video AI. The reason is I simply did go to their website and pulled out the serverless AI products that they have. And by serverless, I mean, something that you can, in a very granular fashion, use maybe transaction based, right? You don't need to worry about the underlying infrastructure. You simply have some REST APIs and that's it. That's why the session is titled, you don't need to learn AI. What you're going to do is simply use REST APIs to accomplish whatever you want out of these services. There is some customization as well that we will talk about. So it looks like they have 4 services, but the problem with Google is they are actually grouping a lot of services into a single product. So that's why it looks like they have only 4 products, but actually it's not fair. This slide isn't fair for them, but that's all I could do. You're going to see in the next slides then some of the services that other vendors branch out in separate products are actually part of a single product. Object recognition, for example, is part of the Vision AI, but another vendor calls it, structures into a different products that they look like they have more options. Let's go look into that. Let's just see the options. Oops. Okay. This is my time tracker. AWS. So these are the lists from AWS. I'm not going to go into one by one in those, but one thing that is very important to do, especially considering this is a global event, I strongly suggest, even if you see the same services from different vendors, I strongly suggest to test all of them, especially if you're in a different geography. Because let me give you an example. I'm living in Istanbul, and when we do a project in Turkey, we're not gonna, most probably we're gonna use Google for celebrity recognition, because Bing, I love using Bing when I'm in the US, but Bing as a product, actually officially, as far as I know, I'm mistaken, the last time I heard, it wasn't available in Turkey. So Bing is not available in Turkey. And again, this is a guess, but most of the data that comes for celebrity recognition, it comes from, traveling the whole internet, right? So I am connecting the dots and I am doing the testing, and it looks like the Azure's celebrity recognition isn't really very good in recognizing local celebrities in Turkey. And that is fine. For me, I have the responsibility of testing all these services and figure out which vendor has the best service for me, and then combine all of them. Thankfully, these are just REST APIs, so there isn't like, I don't need to worry about, partitioning my solution across multiple vendors. I'm not really very worried about, as long as you get them into the same geography, which usually happens. So I'm not really worried about latency at all. But again, I strongly suggest to go and do testing, and you will see for some geographies, you might even see that the particular service doesn't support your local, and then you might need to switch another one. And this is the slide from Microsoft, and it looks like, it looks rich, right? Because, Microsoft is always, based on my experience for 10 or 15 years working on the Microsoft stack, Microsoft is always, tries very hard to help developers as much as they can. That's the primary focus, helping developers, not kind of monetizing, left out resources on a data center, which is what some of the cloud providers started into this game. But Microsoft focus is always helping developers as much as they can. That's their focus, and that's why you see a lot of high-level services from Microsoft. Some of the things here, I'm going to do some demos, but some of the things that I'm going to not demo, but I want to discuss are, for example, Q&A Maker. If you got a Q&A on your website, you simply give the URL. It does the scrubbing. It goes and fetches the data from your website. It cleans that. It trains an AI on that. It does the language processing. It even exposes an automated chatbot for you. And all these steps, you simply click next, and I'm sure we have less next steps than the items that I just listed. So you just click a couple of next, and you got a chatbot. And you don't need to stop there. You can dig into that, customize it. You can actually, if you go into the Azure portal, you can actually download a C# solution, an auto-generated code that shows you how to customize it, and then customize it and upload it into the Azure portal. So it starts from a very high level, make it very easy. You can go to POC in like 20 minutes, right? And then if you want to customize that, you can start learning, doing whatever you want. It doesn't lock you into that sandbox where you don't have the, the permissions to manipulate or play with. So that's one thing that I wanted to talk about. The other one is, that's actually I'm gonna do, yeah, let's do the demo for it. I guess we have enough time to do that. Now, let me jump here. So face recognition, that's the first step. That's the big group of services we have in cognitive services. I mean, all that we're going to talk today will be mostly cognitive services. So we have face detection, face verification, similar face searching, face grouping, face identification. One thing that I want to emphasize here is when we say face verification, do not use this for security. That's very important to mention, because there was a lot of discussion, and maybe you followed it up on the internet, but the first time iPhone introduced face login, there was a lot of discussion about face biometrics not really being a good password, because you cannot change it. Password has to be something that you can change. Your face isn't something that you can change. Your face is actually your identity. It's not your authorization. It's not your password. That's what I'm trying to say. And in this case, when we do face verification, in this case, we're simply sending pictures. We are not even doing depth analysis. So keep in mind that this wouldn't be a good fit for this might be a good fit to detect who that is, but not necessarily know 100% sure and use it for authentication purposes, but just identifying who is in that picture maybe with some accuracy. Okay, let's go into the demo. I did talk too much. I already eat 16 minutes here. Yeah, here we go. So this is a small Azure Functions project that I built. And this is going to play the role of a server that is going to talk to cognitive services. And this is going to expose some additional APIs that we can use for the demo. The first thing that we're going to do here is, let me go to my slides here. The first thing we're going to do is the face detection and landmark detection, face landmark detection thing. So if you look at this code right now, let me make this a little bit, maybe I should make it smaller so that you can read easier. So, there isn't a lot to talk about here. I'm using the C# SDK. Essentially, I added a NuGet package. I'm using the C# SDK for the cognitive services. Face APIs, face client is what I'm using. I have to give a subscription key that I grabbed from the Azure portal. And that's pretty much it. Give the endpoint, give the subscription key, and you have access to the service. This is actually where I'm calling the service. Detect with URL async is the method that I'm going to use. I am given an image URL, passing true, so that it can detect the landmarks of the face as well, like where is the eye, where is the nose, where it starts, where it ends. And that's it. That's all the AI that I'm going to do today. That's pretty easy, right? You might question, hey, what is this preparation and output sections? What are you hiding from us? I'm not hiding that much. This is just, get the URL from the, get the image URL parameter from the query string, set up configuration repo, config repo, so that I can grab values from here, and then face endpoint subscription key from my local settings. So this is, not really AI related. And at the output, let me show you output after we run this this example. Let me run this locally, my server. This is going to talk to cognitive services, expose a couple of APIs that we can use. Okay, let's go. Come on. There we go. This is the first one that we are going to use. Here we go. Open up a new tab. Go over here. Of course, I didn't pass a parameter, so I have to pass a parameter. I'm going to use a photo of myself. This is the photo that I'm going to use. Okay. So I'm going to pass this as a parameter. And keep in mind, I'm not even downloading the photo in order to give it to cognitive services. I'm so lazy that I'm simply giving the URL to cognitive services. I don't want to even mess with downloading and uploading stuff, passing it through. No, I'm not going to do that. Hit enter. Cognitive services download it. And here's what happened. This is a slight censorship, blurring the eyes. So let's go back and see what I really did. So let's put a breakpoint here and run this thing again. Okay, there we go. F10. There we go. Let's look at this. There is simply one face found for now. If I go into there, I have a face ID, which uniquely identifies this particular face. And then I got a collection that says face landmarks. If I go into there, I see a lot of, options here, like, I left outer, I left inner. And if I go into there, I get an X and Y coordinate. So I got all the data that I need about all the landmarks of this particular face. For now, I got a single face, but if I had multiple faces in this particular photo, I would have, multiple faces back with all the landmarks of all of that. So because this is an example, a POC type of thing, I mean, don't take this as an example of a good programming for now. First, or default, I simply get the first list out of this collection, and then create an HTTP client. Well, this isn't the right way to do it on an Azure function. Again, don't take this as a good example. And here's what's happening. I am doing some blurring. I have to do some blurring. And when I do my blurring, what I do is I get the X coordinate on the I left outer and the positions for the I left outer and the I right outer. And then I create a rectangle based on these coordinates, right? And then put a bokeh blur and save the image into the output stream. That's it. I have to do the blurring, obviously. I wish, actually there is another API which can do automated censorship, and it's, as if I'm not mistaken, it was part of the video indexer service. But if you want to do it for images, I guess this is the only way to do. But the point is, whatever you want to do, I mean, it's from this point on, it's up to your imagination. You can detect all these things, and so far, I mean, I didn't do anything that relates to AI, right? But I did detect eyes and, blurred those in. So that's some AI thing that I can implement into my app, right? Okay, so there we go. So the second set of APIs that we have is computer vision. This is kind of available on all the vendors. You can analyze an image, you can find, objects in the image, you can, do OCR, detect text, where the text is, the coordinates of the text, and even, get it as a text, OCR, that's what it means, right? You can, I mean, this generic thumbnail thing is an interesting one. I really like that one, and that is what we're gonna demo right now. And celebrity recognition. Like I've said, again, be careful about the local where you're in, but it's pretty successful. So let's take a look into that. Where's my Visual Studio? Here we go. Smart thumbnail. So you might have noticed what happens when you tweet an image on your iPhone. I'm sure this is available on the Android client as well. But pick an image where you have, for example, a mountain in the background and someone on the right-hand side of the photo, and tweet it. When you go into the timeline view of Twitter, you're gonna see that there's a cropped version of the photo. But when Twitter crops it, when the client app crops it, it doesn't necessarily crop the man from the middle because it was on the right hand side of the photo. It kind of centralizes it. So this might sound like kind of unnecessary, but it's a good addition into the UX of the app, right? Whatever you tweet, what's happening there is actually there is some object of interest, that's what they call it. Object of interest is being detected in the photo, and when it's cropped, it is cropped based off the object of interest, making sure the object of interest is still in the frame. And this is what the Smart Thumbnail API in Cognitive Services does. That's exactly what it is. It sounds simple, and it is, but it's important. And this is all about, the serverless AI. This is all about, adding value into your apps with the smallest investment as possible. So let's see how that works. In this case, I got, where are you? Smart thumbnail endpoint. Let's go there. Okay. Let me show you the photo that I'm going to use. So this is the photo that I'm going to use. This is exactly the example I described, right? So the man is on the right. If I did a regular crop, so let's say I'm going to crop to 500 to 500 pixels, there's a big chance this guy, would lose some of his back at least. So let's see what Smart Thumbnail would do. There we go. It is what it is. It looks cool. It detected the object. It kind of, cropped towards the object instead of, cutting the object itself. And how did I accomplish this? Was that hard? Here's the code. That's it. I mean, again, we got computer vision client, subscription key, endpoint, and a single method to call. Obviously, the coordinates, image URL. This is going to be smart, and that's it. And keep in mind, you don't need to do this every time. I mean, you might have. I don't know how we're going to design this whole thing, but there's no need to crop the same image again and again. If you can simply crop it once and store it somewhere and then serve it up so that you don't keep paying for cognitive services, right? And the preparation part is the same. Just grab some configuration values. Output part is much simpler in this case. I am simply putting the file into the output, and that's it. In a couple of minutes, we got smart thumbnails. Okay. Video indexer. This is something I'm not going to be able to demo because it takes too long to process it, at least too long relatively to the time we have in this session. But it has huge value. I mean, you start uploading, and there's a website where you can play with this after the session if you want to. I will share the links to it. But you simply, I mean, this is something Microsoft is using in all of the conferences, as far as I know. And not just Microsoft, I'm sure other companies are using it as well. But the point is, you upload a video, it detects the unique identities. It gives you unique identifiers for every speaker, detecting how many speakers are there, and then telling you when they start speaking, right? And then you can, if you want, you can transcribe that into text. Once you transcribe it into text, you can translate that into other languages. So it's just crazy. I mean, you can even, once you know that, let's say, I am speaking between 2 and the 5th minutes of the video, you can even get it out and do some sentiment analysis. You want to do sentiment analysis based on text. You want to do sentiment analysis based on face. You can do some crazy stuff. So, and all of this metadata that you get out of the video is obviously searchable. So I'm just kind of trying to give you ideas how these services can be used, because those are, I know that these are high-level services, but based on what you're going to build, these are going to be low-level services, right? You will build something on top of this. So all these functionality is something that you can tap in and go to a MVP or POC or whatever you want to get to in a really fast pace. I'm looking at the slide right now to see if I'm missing anything. Yeah, combine speech, face, OCR. Is there some text in the video? It can detect that too. You can do text analytics, sentiment analysis, translator, all of them in a single API for a video that you give to the service, and that's it. Speaker recognition, celebrity recognition works as well. If it recognizes a celebrity in the video, it can tell you who that is. And yeah, it's just amazing. I don't know. Every time I go through this slide, I wish we had 30 minutes to do the demo for this one. Yeah, let's jump into custom vision. Custom vision is a little bit different because so far everything that we used kind of looked like, pretty much black box, right? I mean, you use it the way it is designed and you cannot really play with it. Do we need to play with those, change the structure? I'm not sure. But if you want to do some custom stuff, as the name suggests, custom vision is where we can do the things. And custom vision is actually the only place in this presentation where we talk about training, evaluating, and learning. So we are getting into some AI stuff here, I guess, right? At least we know the 3 steps. We're gonna know the 3 steps that involves, the AI. So let's look into this. How does this work? So the idea is you got a bunch of images and you give them to AI, you train the AI yourself, and then start evaluating the results. And if you like the results, then you're going to be able to use an API to do AI stuff based on the model that you trained. And when you do all this, still you don't need to care about the infrastructure. That's the nice part of it. I mean, you're not going to set, TensorFlow of libraries and all that stuff. You're not going to care about you need to scale. By the way, this service isn't preview. I have to update this slide deck. You don't need to care about how many VMs are in the underlying infrastructure. Do you need to scale on it? No, you don't need to care about this thing. This is still a serverless service. So let's go into that. The one interesting thing here is I am not going to do the demo for it, but keep in mind, after you train your model on the custom vision service, you can actually export it. You don't need to run it in Azure. You can train in Azure, take it out, and run it. If there's even a compact version of it, you can export it and run it on an Android phone. So you do the training in Azure, you pull the model out, you export it, you can run it on the edge, on an IoT device, on a mobile device, or you can even run it, take it out and go to, I don't know, Google Cloud or AWS and run it there if for whatever reason that's what you want to do. You can definitely do that. Okay, so this is a demo that I'm not gonna do. I will do one object-based single object demo, but just so you know, there is possibility to do multiple objects per image if you want to. In that case, you're gonna need to highlight, because we are gonna train the AI, right? At this point, this isn't about apples, obviously. This is just an example. Object recognition can recognize apples, but what if there's an object? There's a type of object that the built-in AI tools are not able to recognize, and you got some custom data that you want to give to the AI model and train it. So in that case, you can even select objects in images and train multiple tags per images if you want to. So let's go to the demo. Here we go. Okay, so let's see. I'm not sure if I'm in the right resource group, so let me roll back here. This should be the one. Custom vision. So this is a service that I provisioned previously, and now you got my key, which is scary, but still, no worries. I will go into this custom vision portal, and the quick start, the second step, custom vision portal. This is just so that I can do the demo easily. The custom vision portal actually uses custom vision service APIs. So whatever you see in this portal is something that you can build talking to the custom vision service APIs. This is just kind of a demo website that you can use maybe, but consider this as a client for the service, right? Whatever you see operationally here on this website is things that you can do from a mobile client, from a website that you build. So there are APIs that are exposed that does everything in this website. So I'm going to create a project. I'm going to say test global AI. No need for a description. This project is going to use the free tier for custom vision. I will do classification, not object detection. I will have single tag per image because that's all the data that I have right now, and I want to keep this as simple as possible for the sake of the demo. And then we got a list of domains. So what this means is the AI model that we are going to have is not going to be totally dummy. It will know some things. It will be pre-trained, and we will add additional data on top of it. If you go with the compact editions, notice down below that there is export capabilities that comes. If you pick the compact edition, you can export for TensorFlow or Vision AI Dev Kit. For now, I will just go with the default general domain and create my project. Okay, somewhere in here, I got some data that I'm going to use. Okay, here we go. Okay, the first thing that we're going to do is to load up some data. So I will load this data set. Here I have a bunch of cars I grabbed from Google. I simply did some random search and downloaded 30 different images of cars. So if you look at it, there are some old cars, vintage cars, and modern cars. I think there's a good variation. So let's move this away, add images, go there, select 30 cars, open, and call this a car, right? Again, the point isn't, the regular general, object detection can recognize cars, but what if you wanted to do something custom? Upload 30 images. We did label these images as car. We did tag them as car. Keep that in mind. Okay, it's taking a while. The next step that we're going to do is to load up some buses. For buses, I actually have, there's just 5 of them. Okay, there we go. Cars are now loaded. Great. Add some more images. Go to buses. 5 different buses. And tag them bus. And upload. Great. Okay, we got some good variation in buses as well, but 5 images per tag, it's not very ideal, to be honest. Okay, the next step is training. Let's train the AI. I'll click train, and it's gonna take a minute. Sometimes it happens faster, to be honest. This training button, I mean, you can even access the API behind this training button. You can decide when to train. You want to train overnight. I mean, the image upload thing, I use the website, but this could have happened from a mobile app. When people add images into your mobile app, maybe you want to upload them directly to the custom vision API. Maybe you want to upload it to a blob and then have an Azure function that puts it into the custom vision so that you have another storage as well. And then you have a training function, Azure function time trigger that kicks in a new training every hour or two or whatever. That's totally up to you. So right now we got our training done. It says its confidence level is pretty high for both cars and buses. So let's see. There's a quick test screen here that we can use for testing. Obviously, we're not going to use the data that we already uploaded for testing. So let's go and see if we can find some car photo. Let's look at weird cars. Okay, so is this really a car? I'm not sure. This is really weird. Well, let's try it. Copy image link. There we go. Let's see what it's going to say. 99.9% a car. That's good. That's really good for AI, I guess, right? So what about buses? Weird bus. This is much weirder, I guess. All right. Let's get the link and put it here. So 99% bus, 1% car. So at this point, you gotta decide what your confidence level should be, right? I mean, you can decide if it's more than 80% bus. That's a bus for you. That's totally something that you're gonna need to decide when you're building your solution. But let's do something different. If I give a bicycle photo, this is where people get a little bit confused. And let me tell you why. Let's see the result first. Okay, this is a bicycle. It says it's a 99.9% a car. So here's the thing. This AI knows only about cars and buses. Think about a baby that knows about only cars and buses, and when you show the bicycle, what is it gonna say? I mean, it needs to say something, and it's not gonna tell you that, hey, I don't know this thing. There's no conscious behind this. There is essentially a lever that goes either car or bus, and it needs to be somewhere. If you're crazy lucky, it's gonna be at 50%, which might feel like, yeah, I really don't know what's going on here. I'm not sure, but it is gonna try to tell you something. And in this case, yeah, for a bicycle, it looks like it's closer to a car. So if you wanna get a result about bicycles, then you're gonna need to train your AI about bicycles. So it's not as smart as you think, actually. It's just trying to, mathematically, it analyzes pictures, and it tries to figure out data points of all these pictures that are from far away as each other so that it can group these differences into the farthest corners as possible. So that the next time when you give something, it is trying to figure out, hey, I got some data out of this thing. Which group is that closer to? That's what it is trying to do. Okay. Speech. Okay, speech to text, text to speech. Those are things that we got used to, I guess, nowadays. So these are available services, speech recognition, speech translation. Those are available services in most of the vendors. But again, keep in mind, based on your local, you might see different results. I strongly suggest to test out all the vendors to pick the best for your case. And let's do a small demo in here. Talk to me. So when I was building this particular example, it's been a while, I need to be honest. It's been at least 9 months I built this demo set. So things might have changed a little, but when I did when I built this demo deck, there wasn't an SDK for this one. So I had to go and do the HTTP request myself. And I think this is a good example because whenever I do these demos, there's this feeling that the services only work with C#, right? First off, you would be surprised if you go out there and look for SDKs. You would be surprised how many, how different SDKs are available for different languages. The last time I was doing this presentation, someone asked me, I don't exactly remember the service, but someone asked me, hey, is there a Go SDK for that? I said, I don't know, look at it up. And after he looked at it up, he told me, oh yeah, there is a Go SDK. So again, let's take a look. There's a high chance that an SDK will be available for your language that you want to use for Azure Cognitive Services. In this case, it's just me knowing only C#, so that I preferred using C#. And even though there isn't an SDK, these are HTTP APIs, these are REST APIs. I mean, if you're able to do an HTTP call, you're going to be able to use the services. And in some cases, especially if there's a missing SDK, trust me, the HTTP REST API documentation is usually much better than the SDK documentation. So you're going to be in good hands. So in this case, I had to do the HTTP request myself. As you see, there's a header where I put my subscription key and then the endpoint, obviously. And I have some additional headers. These are usually, added into the SDK themselves, but, I had to do those myself. This particular header tells, hey, what type of audio file format and codec that I'm going to use and that I want as the output of this API call. User agent in this case is just for, anything that you want. Authorization, the token is here. And finally, the body, it looks like, I'm not an expert in text-to-speech, but it looks like this thing is an industry standard. So you have to SSML package, whatever you want to send to the service. So this is the package, and in the middle, you see the text that I want to send that comes from, I am guessing, query string. I send a text, it goes in here, and in this case, this was a Turkish example that I did. Let's try to, I don't remember the font that I can use for the English example. Let's keep it as it is. You will hear some Turkish. And finally, I send it as a post async to the service, to the endpoint, the package that I create, and finally I get an audio out of it. So that's it. There are, this is a one-shot API call where you send the text and get an MP3 file. You can do this on the fly as well if you want. I don't have the example right now in front of me, but you might say like, hey, what if, I want to do something like Siri? Because in this case, it looks like you're sending a text, and then, what if I want to do real time? It is available too. Just Google it or Bing it based on your geography. So let's run this thing. I guess it is already running. Here we go. Talk to me. Oh, I had to send some text, right? Oh, okay. Then I got the MP3 file. I'm not sure if you heard that because I didn't share my PC's sound on when I set up Skype, but it's working. Trust me. Okay, let's go back. The other thing that we have is language. text analytics, entity recognition. When you start speaking, what are the keywords? What are the key phrases? Sentiment analysis is pretty popular from what I can see. I see a lot of sentiment analysis on social media data set, metadata. Companies are using it to detect, when they do an advertisement or something, a campaign, they go out, they publish a hashtag, and then, they crawl off the data on that hashtag and try to do sentiment analysis and try to figure out if the campaign landed, nicely or not. They sometimes even auto-respond based on the sentiment of the original tweet and, suggest a support, channel or something. So I see a lot of that happening. Again, be careful about the language here. Based on your local translation. Content moderator is an interesting one that we're not going to do the demo, and I will not talk a lot about it, but keep in mind that what you can do is you can do content moderation and involve real human beings. And if you want to involve real human beings into the process, there are tools out of the box that you can use. So you hit an API for content moderation, and if you want to, if the AI is not, able to really figure out what's going on, then you can, redirect that request to a real human being in front of a PC, in front of a monitor, and it can do the moderation itself. And all of the tools, the website that, for example, a real human content moderator is going to use is part of the product. So that's a full suite, actually, that you can use if you need to. So Bing spell check, the name is pretty obvious. Language understanding is totally another topic, but those are all available services. So let's do a high-level demo here as well. And do I still have that open? I don't think so. Oh, I do. Okay, great. So in this case...
Daron, just a quick one, just a few minutes left, but really excited to see this demo, so awesome.
Yeah, I know. I still have 3 minutes.
Uh-huh.
I got the big clock in front of me. So where is that? Where is the demo? Oh, it's not. Okay, here's it. So in this case, oh yeah, I got to change those tags. This is Turkish. Let's say, let's change this. I'm hoping it's going to work. Come on. Weather is nice. Better. And finally, how is the weather? So the idea is a positive one, a negative one, and somehow, a question that has no positivity or negativity. And we will build up this list. We could have, get that through the URL or, HTTP post body or whatever. I've just been lazy in here. And again, text analytics, subscription key, endpoint, and a single method to call, sentiment async. We will get it, and I will return the object. That's it. Let's rerun this thing and hope it works. Come on. Okay. This is it. Let's go here. Yes, it did work. So the first one has a 98% positivity, which is good. The second one is how? 95% negativity. Cool. And the third one is totally neutral. And this is exactly the 50% case that we were talking about, right? This is all neutral. So again, once you get this data, it's totally up to you what you want to do with it. But sentiment analysis, we did sentiment analysis, language processing, and all that stuff, right? With a single HTTP call. And this is why the session is called, doing AI without learning AI, right? Okay, so just at 49 minutes, 20 seconds, links worth sharing. I might hit the record about, being in time. I just, if there's such a thing, if you took any records of those. Oh yeah, links worth sharing. Video index. Video indexer, online playground, video.ai. Go ahead. I didn't do the demo, didn't have the time, but you can definitely go into their cognitive services documentation. And if you're interested in vision, custom vision stuff, there's a video from Ignite 2019. And here's the link. It's a 1 or 2 hours long session from Ignite that goes deeper into custom vision if you want to. And if you want the slides, here's a link where you can get slides. And feel free to hit me up on Twitter if you have any questions. And that's all I have.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Daron. Like, impeccable timing. Absolutely impeccable. We are going to wrap it up there so we can prepare for our next session. Daron, that was absolutely brilliant. We definitely want to hear about some of if you can share some of these links on social media and stuff like that, but all of this information is available online afterwards. So with that, I'll say goodbye. Eve and Alicia will be joining us for the next session, and that'll be in around 10 minutes time. So thanks very much.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Hey, my name's Akanksha Malik, and I'm from Melbourne.
Excellent, Sami. It's Bal here.
Hi, I'm Alan Smith.
Hi, I'm Amy.